What's going on? It is Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFS Army, and I'm going to break down Thursday night football slate where we have the New York Giants going to play the Washington football team. We got a low 41 over/under on this game with Washington favored by 3.5 now. It's moved a little bit towards Washington's favor. Got a few injuries here. Fitzpatrick's on IR, so it's going to be Heinicke's going to, man the helm here for Washington. That's the big news. And on the other side, Ingram is out as well. So we're going to see a lot of Kyle Rudolph. So I'm going to break down both FanDuel and Draftkings in this video. I'll start with FanDuel, then I'll finish up with Draftkings. Just kind of use our domination station over at DFS Army. If you don't have an account, we're still running a promo, 20% off. Use promo code KICKOFF. Hit the link in the description below to get that. We got everything over there. We got you covered. So with that, let's just jump right into this and break it down. All right, as you can see behind me, I have our domination station up, which is our optimizer over here, DFS Army, and I have FanDuel brought up. But again, we'll break down both FanDuel and DraftKings in this video and talk about it. As you know, things are scored a little differently on both of them, and you approach them a little differently. So, we'll talk first cash game setup, how I look at it, and then we'll talk a little bit about MME and the MVPs that I like and captains that I like for both of them. This game's a little funky. There's not one person I can say that I absolutely love. Last week on Monday Night Football, it was Lamar Jackson. He struggled a little bit with those 2 turnovers. Probably would have been in the nuts lineup if it wasn't for that last throw to Zay Jones from Derek Carr, which put him in there. So those are the things you deal with, and you just kind of make your decisions and roll with them. So it was kind of a funky game, but those fumbles killed Baltimore there. So, but again, talk about the Giants and Washington football team here. It should be a pretty low-scoring game in general. Like Daniel Jones is a horrible quarterback going up against a tough defense here. I like Washington in this game if I was going to bet it, and I actually did bet Washington at -3. But I for doing the showdown slate here, it's going to be a little rough. I do know one guy that I'm going to completely get off of. And that's Barkley here. He's 14K on FanDuel. He only rushed the ball 10 times last week for 26 yards up against the Broncos. This is a stiff run defense. I don't want him at that price at all. So he's going to be a guy that I'm going to fade completely in everything at that price on FanDuel, and especially in cash games. I'm just going to run this real quick, just raw, and kind of see what it gives me. And it's getting, Heinicke up at MVP, which I agree with. That's where I'd roll as well. I don't like Daniel Jones up against this defense on the road. I'd much rather roll out there Taylor Heinicke. De'Ami Brown, McLaurin, Gibson, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I have no problem in cash games here at 15K. That's what we normally do, but I want to look at some kickers, and I think there's one guy in the Giants that I'd like to have, actually a wide receiver that I'm pretty high on here. So let's just say at the MVP here for cash games, we lock in Heinicke, Daniel Jones, and then one other guy I want to look at is Sterling Shepard. I like him a lot in this game. Even in cash games, I'd be comfortable with it. I'm sorry, I don't want this all MVP. I want Tyler Heinicke MVP, and then the flex, I want Daniel Jones and Shepard, and see what it gives me. Because I kind of like both kickers in this game as well. I think we're going to see a lot of these drives stall, especially for the Giants, but I can even see for Washington as well. So I like the kickers a lot as well. But it's going to give me some Gibson. I like Gibson, Daniel Jones, Shepard, but it's only giving me around 6,500 left if I go Shepard here. So the key might be in the flex here. Maybe we come down and we get Hopkins and we get Gano and see what it gives us here. If we go both kickers, that's probably where I'd go in cash games, honestly. I'd go both kickers, both quarterbacks. Antonio Gibson, he is probable for this game. And Daniel Jones. This is probably where I would land if I was going to go cash games. This seems the safest for me, so that's where I would probably land on FanDuel. Let's get off here and just talk about strictly MME setup. I'm gonna run 50 lineups here just to make it easy. I always like to run tournament mode. I always have one unique when I'm running this because I'm usually running 150 lineups, but just for the pure sake of this, and how I'm going to set up my MVPs and whatnot, and guys, I'm just going to completely fade. So here at the MVPs, Yes, you can run Daniel Jones up there as well. You know, if he gets, 3 touchdowns, they're going to have to run a bunch. I don't think they're going to get it done on the ground. If you want to have some of him, I have no problem. He's going to run a little bit. He runs six times for 27 yards and a touchdown, actually, against the Broncos. So he can get there with his legs as well. But so can Taylor as well. So I don't mind either one of those guys. I'm going to start from the bottom here and just start taking these guys out, because I don't really want any of these guys. There's going to be a pretty short pull for me when it comes to the guys that I want. I don't think I want any Slayton. They're pretty tough on the outside. That's one thing I love about Sterling Shepard here. If you're going to beat the Washington football team, you kind of have to do it in the slot. And he got 9 targets last week against the Broncos, which is the most on the team behind Slayton. And 50% of his targets actually came out of the slot. So I have a lot of love for Shepard here. Galladay, I don't mind taking some shots at as well. Like I said, you could go Slayton as well. Galladay, Slayton had 7 targets. Galladay had 6 targets last week. Kyle Rudolph had 5 targets. Again, I'm not going to use him in the MVP. Antonio Gibson could get in the box twice and be there, so I'm going to leave him in there. F1 Terry McLaurin, we could leave him in there as well. But I'm going to take some shots here. I do like Logan Thomas a lot. Just Henneke likes his tight ends, and even though that he didn't see a ton of targets last week, he did see 3 targets, caught all 3 for 30 yards. I think we're going to see more of that. He's targeted him more in the past, but again, Fitz got injured in the game, and they didn't really have a game plan set. So I think he's going to be more in the game plan. We're going to see a lot more of Logan Thomas here, as he just feels more comfortable with him. So I'm going to leave him in there. Again, I'm fine with, if you want to leave Galladay in here, there is upside for him. You could say the same for, Darius Slayton as well, if you want to throw him in here as well. I'm just going to leave him out. And I'm actually going to take Galladay out. I'm fine with leaving him in there, but I kind of like to have a short pool of MVPs here. Henneke's going to be the guy that I'm going to own the most. And then I'm probably going to go Gibson. Then I'm going to go Shepard. Because if for some reason Shepard can get in the end zone twice against Washington, because I think they're going to have to throw a ton, he could be the MVP here, where, Washington, maybe they spread around. Maybe Heineke gets there with one in his legs. Maybe Gibson gets there with one. Maybe Terry McLaurin gets one. Logan Thomas gets one. I could see where it could be a little bit more spread out. But if they're going to funnel the ball more in the slot, maybe Shepard gets 2 touchdowns and 100 yards, and he's the MVP. So I do like that. Daniel Jones could get done with his legs and get in the box, so I have to have some of him. But Heineke's going to be the guy that I'm going to have the most of. But those are the 5 guys that I'm looking at most on FanDuel, and I'm probably going to be, 30-35%, and then the rest of these guys maybe around 15 or so. It's a little bit more spread out. Like I said, it's not like where we can pinpoint exactly where it's going, and all the usage is going to go for one guy. So I do like that. Flex guys here, just looking at price wise. Again, like I said, at flex, I'm definitely going to completely fade Barkley at 14K. I just, at that price point, when Gibson's 1,500 more, I'm just going to have more in Gibson. I just don't like the Barkley play at all. If it bites me, it bites me, but those are decisions you have to kind of make, and I'm just going to fade them. I want to see it first, and this is not a good defense to run up against, so I'm just going to take him out and lower the pool a little bit more. Some of the cheap guys down here, maybe can take a shot at Jarrett Patterson at 5,500. De'Ami Brown's probably going to be the one guy that's going to be the chalk down here at 5,500 for Washington. He's a guy that last week, he saw 4 targets, but only got 1 for -2 yards. But I don't mind taking some shots at him. He's going to be the chalk at 5,500. You might even see some of those lineups in cash games where you have on FanDuel, because he's 5,500, where you have Brown, and then you're able to pay up for a Shepard or something like that. And like I said, I'm fine with that. It's just these wide receivers on FanDuel can be a little bit volatile, but 5,500 is definitely too cheap. Brightwell, I don't have a whole lot of love for. Again, didn't see nothing at all last week. Tony, kind of guy, no. Adam Humphries, Don't mind 6,500 if you want to take a shot at him. Kyle Rudolph's going to be the one guy at 7K I'm probably going to have the most of. Again, no Ingram. So Rudolph saw 5 targets, only 2 catches for 8 yards last week. But a guy that we can, going up against Washington, I don't mind taking some shots at that, at 7K. Booker saw 4 carries for only 7 yards up against Broncos last week. So he was the guy behind Barkley, but Daniel Jones threw 37 times last week. So we could probably see something similar. I think Daniel Jones is going to chuck the ball around. I'll have to look at his prop and see the over on attempts because I think he's going to see a ton. Like I said, I like both kickers in this game a ton. Slayton, I don't mind at that price at 9K. I'll have some of him, and all these guys are in play. But I'll take a big chunk of these guys out. I don't want a ton of them. Like I said, De'Ami Brown's going to be the chalk at 5,500 for sure at that price point, and especially with his projection sitting there. So that's where I'm sitting at on FanDuel. If we head on over to DraftKings, kind of see what we have sitting over here. Again, I'm going to use the domination station. Pull this slate up. Over here, again, it's a little different. Usually we want a wide receiver or, I don't want a quarterback up here. I think the Giants are going to throw a ton. And I think my favorite captain play for everything is going to be Sterling Shepard. Like, I just love him in this matchup. Everything just funnels towards the slot. And I think, Shepard last week, again, 9 targets, led the team 7 for $113 against the Broncos. I think we see something similar here. He's 12K up here at the captain position. If we just lock him in here, and then the flex, say we do Heineke, just kind of see what lineups it spits out real quick. So this is a Sterling Shepard, and then Washington onslaught. Gibson, Heineke, McLaurin, Logan, De'Ami Brown's only 1,400. He's going to be chalk here at that price for sure. But in cash games, you're probably more looking something in the line like this, where you have Daniel Jones and Heineke, Gibson, De'Ami Brown, and then you're going to be around this range where you have around $6,400 left, I think, for this last position in your flex. And I think that's why they're landing on the Washington football team, which I'm fine with against, turnover Brown. I swear Daniel Jones has tiny hands, man. That dude fumbles all the damn time. So no problem running out here. This would probably be similar to what my cash team would be if I was going to run one. I really like this team with Sterling Shepard up top. Like I said, a lot of it's, you feel more comfortable running maybe a Heineke up top or something like that. And maybe you can still get there with the football team. But something like this is where I would look at. I just love the wide receivers and the upside that they bring. And I think Shepard's going to just be peppered with targets all day long here, especially with no Ingram. Kyle Rudolph's nothing special. Again, 5 targets, caught 2 of them for 8 yards. It's going to be the Shepard show, in my opinion. So that's where I'm going to lean. And I might, again, stay that way in cash games as well. So, but yeah, captain for MME purposes, again, Sterling Shepard's going to be my favorite guy that I'm going to go to here. To get different, we have so many captains that, eat up the quarterback here. When you got 2 guys that can run, I don't mind throwing them up there where they could spread the ball around and maybe one guy doesn't get everything. Shepard's definitely going to be my highest owned guy, but Terry McLaurin could take a couple to the house. He's a little bit more expensive. That's why I prefer Shepard. If you want to go cheap down here, I don't even mind if you take a Washington football team captain and think that they just absolutely dominate the Giants here, which wouldn't surprise me. So I don't mind taking a look at them. Coming out a little bit more. So De'Ami Brown, again, with his projection that's up there, you might see quite a bit of him up at captain because it lets you get a little bit of everything, at 2,100 at captain. So that's where some people might look to go. Logan Thomas is interesting to me as well. Like I said, Heineke loves to throw to his tight ends. Didn't see it a ton last week. I still think we're going to see 6-7 targets to him. And if he catches, it's his red zone guy as well. Caught a touchdown last week from him. So, if he's the kind of guy that can get you 6 for 60 and a touchdown, he could be the nuts as well. So I like Logan Thomas a lot. But I'm going to load up on the wide receivers. I think I'm going to have a little bit of the quarterbacks here. Again, I'm full fading Barkley at this price. I don't like this price at all. I'm just going to completely get rid of him. Definitely want some Gibson as well. He can catch some balls. So I don't mind him. He ended up catching, he had 5 targets, caught 3 for 18 last week, but we'll probably see a little bit better of that So I don't mind him. If you want to take a shot at Patterson, he had one target for no yards. Did run the ball twice for 9 yards. Maybe see a little bit more of him. He's cheap. He's the kind of guy that can just take it to the house, and he's fast. So I like him more in the flex. If you're taking our cheap guy, Jarrett Patterson, man, is just fun. Love that I made the football team when they cut the guys that they did. I like him at 600 in the flex, just for the upside that he does bring. Caden Smith down here at 300 is another one of those things. There's no Ingram, so he's going to get some look, but wouldn't run those guys up at captain at all. I would lean Sterling Shepard as my number one. Then I'd go to maybe Antonio Gibson, Heineke, and then I would look at Logan Thomas, then maybe some Daniel Jones. I'd have a little bit of Washington football team. And that's about where I would sit. Terry McLaurin, I'll have some of him as well. Mostly I'm going to be heavier on the wide receivers, though, and then Antonio Gibson. And then I'll have just a very, very little bit of the quarterbacks. I just prefer the wide receivers here. I think both teams are going to throw a ton. So that's kind of where I'm looking. Again, in the flex, if I had to have the cheap guy, I said Jarrett Patterson's a guy for me at 400. He's the one guy that I would look at. I prefer him over Caden Smith down here. Even look at projections. Jarrett Patterson, because he can catch if he comes in there on a third down, or if he comes in there, maybe Gibson rangers himself or something. It's gonna be all Jarrett Patterson. You got to have some of him. He's like my favorite play down here. Even if Gibson's fine and he plays all the game, Patterson can take on the house anytime. That dude is super quick. Again, can catch the ball out of the backfield, and at that price, he doesn't have to do much. And so I'm going to have a whole lot of him to fit in these other guys in this lineup. Again, De'Ami Brown's going to be super popular at 1,400. One thing to note last week is, J.D. McKissic only saw one pass. He saw the same target share as Jarrett Patterson and actually had one less run than Jarrett Patterson. McKissic saw one run for 8 yards, or Jarrett Patterson 2 for 9. So I'd still have some McKissic in there at 2,200, but when you can get 1,800 off for Jarrett Patterson, which I think will be way less ownership, I think that's the way that I'm looking at going. Again, both kickers I like. I don't mind running both defenses in your pool as well. I think there are two quarterbacks that could be, we get a pick six or something like that. So it's going to be an ugly game. When you see a 41 total and it's a close spread like this, the kickers could very much be involved here a ton. So I love them. But that's kind of where I'm looking at on DraftKings. Again, Sterling Shepard's the guy that's my favorite captain on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I'm going Heineke's going to be my favorite guy. And then Jarrett Patterson is going to be, I guess we could call the turd special. I loved watching him over when he was with Buffalo. We're talking Buffalo, the college football team. And that's where we're going to sit. Hope to see some helmets up top, man. Like I said, it's kind of an ugly game tomorrow, but I think you attack this one where you kind of spread out a little bit more of your captains and your MVPs, because I don't think there's no clear-cut way. But I think Shepard's going to have a big game, and I don't mind even doing that. I know some people want to set up a ton of rules. Just watch yourself. You set up too many rules, and then if your rules kind of take over things, I just like to do things by, when it comes to just by your min max. How much am I going to have of somebody, or my range of outcomes if I'm going to have one guy where I'm going to have a higher range of outcome towards the ceiling. Maybe I want to put Jarrett Patterson, towards his higher range of outcomes where he gets me 8 or 9 fantasy points, and then I cap him at like 25% or something like that. So I like to go through my players more like that than I do, do I play this guy and this guy? I think that more comes into play when you come towards the high side, but when you have some cheap guys that are in play, I don't think you really have to do that. I tend to do that more in running backs. If there's like a situation where there's split running backs or the split field, maybe I don't want to run them together. If I'm going to run, for instance, if you have two guys that are expensive, like, what's a good example? Say Antonio Gibson and JD McKissic were both, 10K, and they're going to split carries. Well, I don't want them in the same lineup because there's no way they're going to be, or very low chance they're going to be in the nut lineup. So I don't really want to do that. So, but other than that, I don't make too many rules. I just kind of make sure I pick my MVPs and captains. set the percentages that I want, and then take some stands on your flex positions and get rid of some of the guys that you don't think are going to get there. But you got to keep some of these low guys on DraftKings, these cheap guys, like we saw with Zay Jones go off in the last play that won it for some people. And that could be your Jarrett Patterson, that could be your De'Ami Brown, your Cam Sims, your Caden Smith might catch one in the end zone. So a couple of guys like that, you got to keep in your pool, because if they do catch a touchdown like that for, 50 yards, they're probably going to be in the nut lineup. So just remember that when you're doing your build. So, and again, if you're not a part of DFS Army, head on over there, use promo code KICKOFF to get 20% off. We got everything, everything's up in the domination station. We'll have ownership here probably tonight or early tomorrow morning for this showdown slate, and then the main slates as well. So head on over there. Hope to see you in there. Hope to see you in Discord, and hope to see those helmets up top. See you on the flip side. Deuces.